Hello. Even though I'm nobody actually there yet, not in the live bit anyway, but we do have. It's going to be gotten on the video, so it's going to be here from the start. Welcome to Friday night's live stream. I've decided to kind of go on for much longer tonight. I'm going on for an hour. Been working away here on this lovely little academy kit. Hello, Brian. How are you? Hi from Berlin. Don't know any German, so unfortunately, it'll have to be English. Guten Nacht. There you go. Guten Nacht. Is that a sort of, have a good night? Would that be sort of a bye-bye thing, or would it Guten Abend? Guten Abend, mein Herr. I won't call you mein Liebchen, because you'd probably get upset if I started calling people that. Anyway, how are you? You're fine. Sorry, I already asked that, didn't I? Well, I'm grand anyway. Been working away on the Abrams. I'll show it a bit later on, because otherwise I'll just be sort of showing it constantly, really. It's coming along fine. It is a nice kit. It's well worth an investment, shall we say. The tracks, if you've been keeping up on the updates, I had a wee problem with the tracks. I found them. Good evening, Ian. How are you? Just talking about the Abrams there and the tracks for it. I had a little bit of a problem with the tracks. They were coming out a bit too tight. And because it was sort of so tight, they were starting to pop on the sides, and it was breaking some of the end connectors and things. Ray, how are you? You're a crack. Is that a Maine thing from southern Maine? You're a cracky. Hi, John. How are you? Talking about these tracks, as I said, I had a problem with them because it was just too tight. It was starting to pop end connectors and starting to break them. So I decided once I put in an extra link, that seemed to solve the problem. It does give it a bit of a sag up here, but you're not going to see it anyway because it's covered by the side skirts. So I can kind of push that down into when I'm for the finish, when I'm everything glued together. I can kind of push that in and use something just to keep a bit of pressure on them, just to keep enough pressure on the track that it stays on the bottom. It won't move, shall we say, and cause any further problems and further breakages. And because even though they're nice and they're flexible and all that, they have a limit to their strength, shall we say. And if you start putting them under pressure, they will break, they will pop. I suppose you could kind of make them as, the ordinary link tracks, and then, use some soft styrene and things, or soft glue, should I say, the slow setting glue, fit them in, then fit them around the tracks, fit everything up and leave it go off, and then try and fit it as a solid piece. But I didn't really want to go down that line. Bushman, how are you? Sorry, Crackerjack Podler. It's okay, Ray. Mark, how are you? And Arthur. Oh, Mr. Deldare, how are you? Hello, John from Dublin. Yes, I am actually originally from Dublin. I was born in Dublin. I was born in Holles Street Hospital in Dublin. So I'm still doing the Mark IV build-off. Not 100%. I've been looking around at what's really available there for the Mark IV. I've done a few things like that, Stugs and things like that, but I've decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of do a vote. Okay, so I'm voting between and say the chassis. Okay, anything built on these chassis. So you're going to have a Panzer IV chassis, Tiger chassis, and when I say the Tiger chassis, it can mean either the Porsche Tiger, the ordinary Tiger, or the King Tiger, or the Panther chassis. Okay, so you can have Berg Panther, Panzers, Yags, ordinary, whichever variant, the whole shebang. So I'm going to do a vote at some stage. I got to do a bit more kind of thinking about it, how I'm going to kind of run it, and then put it up for a vote. And I do it on the channel and on the Facebook page. And whichever of the three then gets the most votes, we'll do the group build on that. What do you think of that idea? The doing it that way. Simon, how are you? How's Simon? Munchkin Modeling Man 72. How are you? That's some channel title. Munchkin Modeling Man 72. Does 72 refer to your age now, or the year you were born? Cushman NYC. I presume you're from New York City, Mr. Cushman. This was the Mark IV build off. Very cool. Blah, 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 blah. Right. We'll do a little bit of a talk here. So on the Abrams, I just kind of dry fitted what I've done so far. Okay, nothing is actually. That's just one track in place. Side skirt is not glued on, obviously enough, because I got to get it there for painting and everything else. And I have a lot of loose stuff here on the turret as well. We've got the 7.62 machine gun, that's loose. The 50 cal, the remote control 50 cal up the top is loose, as is the commander's Capula, Miri Capula, right? Beautiful kit, love the fit, really liking it. I just pop these off because I know that they're going to fall off the second I start turning it over. Okay, pop that. That back basket there, if you can see it, absolutely beautiful. And the fit of that basket. Now I did an Academy keep going to call it the Tiger Abrams already before, and I think it was just the early one. War Pigs it was one of the decals that came for the thing, if anybody knows that kit. And building up of the racks here at the back, there wasn't a really good fit. There was saggy and it was scraping off the back. I lost interest halfway through building it. I ended up repainting it about 4 or 5 times. I used it as a sort of Simon there, he'd even remember I was using it as a paint mule for ages. I tried a couple of different techniques and things on it, and for a finish it kind of shall we say, stuck a firecracker in it and blew it up. It was fun. It was fun. I was kind of sorry I didn't film that. That was actually quite interesting. Dave Gilmore, how are you? Shine on you, crazy diamond. Yeah. So that's the idea. I presume you're saying Cushman and Dell. You're saying sounds good for the idea of the basically giving the choice of the three and then doing a vote and seeing which one we'll do the group build on, rather than deciding on the Panzer IV. Because I know I'd said Panzer IV last week, and since then I've been thinking about it and said, well, personally I'd prefer to do a Tiger, something, a Jag Tiger, something I haven't built. But then again, there are some Panzer IV chassis ones that I haven't built. There's a Whirlwind thing, a big funny turret. That looks quite interesting, and with the Panther, I'd probably Jag Panther, purely because I haven't really built one. So, like I said, we'll wait and see. We'll wait and see, and I'll do I'll do a standalone video on it, and I'll do the comments on that, and the voting on that video will be the only voting, won't take from any other channel, and that will be added then to the votes on the Facebook page. I put up a post on that, and you can vote on that as well. And whichever has the most votes, then we'll go for. So I got to figure out timelines and all that kind of thing. It was just kind of a spur of the moment, and I think it's something a kind of a nice thing, just to kind of bring us all together, that we're all kind of building something similar and around the same time, which could be quite interesting. And if anybody was, say, building the same kit as me, they could kind of build along with me. Because that was my original idea, that we'd all get the same kit and just build along. But that was being a bit too relying on everybody to get a kit, when people might have a good stash without the kit that I'm talking about. They have a good stash there and say, right, we decided to go down the Tiger line. Might have 3 or 4 different ones that they can build, that they have there in their stash, rather than having to go out and buy something, which can kind of put people off going for things like that. Think about doing a Storm Tiger. Yeah, that's a funny yoke, isn't it? With a big, huge sort of kettle, find a dustbin full of explosives. That'll take out buildings for you. That Storm Tiger. Ray, missed the bum. How's Abby? Abby's doing grand. She's being a typical little 10-year-old girl, enjoying herself, into a lot of weird things, as little 10-year-olds are. She started playing a game there recently on the internet, which what's it called? Among Us. Kind of got me half interested in it. So I played a couple of bits and pieces of it. You got to kind of learn the maps and things, but it's actually quite a good game. Among Us. The surgical spirits work great. Yeah, they do, don't they? Why pay a fortune for cleaners and airbrush cleaners and things? Like I said, I've been using it now for at least 2 years on a cheap airbrush, and if anything is going to destroy an airbrush, it's going to destroy the cheap ones, and it works perfect. It doesn't have any effect on the the rubber seals or anything like that, and it does a good job on cleaning. And you can also sort of put a little bit into a little cup and clean your brushes as well. So multi-purpose, and at, like I said, a fraction of the cost. I get mine from Boots, $5, and I get half litre. And I'm sure in England and probably other places, you probably even find it cheaper again if you're willing to shop around for it. That's surgical spirits used for cleaning airbrushes. So John has tried it out. Ian, yeah, your daughter's been playing it. Yeah, a lot of kids lately are playing it. Anyhow, I mean, I watched it for a while, and it seems kind of a fun game. Especially if you've got a kind of a group of people together, they do this thing. You can have a kind of a Discord going on at the same time, so you can be kind of on your phone or whatever, and you'll be chatting away with your friends while you're playing this game. And it's kind of a whodunit, and you got to figure it out. So it can be quite good. Super Drugs, $179 for 200mm. There you go. We've Super Drug in Ireland as well, but unfortunately, Super Drug in Ireland, they don't have a medical license, pharmacy license. So all they sell really is they sell the cosmetic side of it. So you see the Super Drugs over here, but they're not the same as what you have in England. So they don't stock anything like that. They only stock the cosmetics and perfumes and that line of stuff. Okay. Yeah, that's as far as I've gotten with my second my second run of tracks. And instead of sort of counting them the whole time, what I did was I counted out the amount of sections I need and links that I need. So I just cut off the basic links then. So once I've that done, that's my 79 links. Okay, remember it's supposed to be 78 per side, and I've added one that makes it 79 per side. And there we go. I got to add those to that with the other 5 pieces for each one. Fun. But it's not bad. It is not bad. They're not. Just check that light width. It's really strong. They're not. I mean, they're not a bad link. They're doable. They do kind of. I do them in batches of 5. I do 5 at a time, and I sort of take out 5, clean them off, get the pads for 5, end caps for 5, and guide horns for 5. Get everything ready, and then attach the 5. Then put it away, do something else for a while, come back and do another 5. Or I might go in and do another 5 straight there and then. But yeah, they can be quite tedious. They're kind of quite fiddly and small. So if your eyesight isn't the best, they can be kind of a bit of a pain. Cleaning my airbrush is a pain. Small thingies. Oh, small thingies. Yeah. The small thingies. These things. See this little container, right? But that container is that's the top of a Johnson's cotton buds tub. Okay, you get your Johnson's cotton buds, you get a tub of them, and great for holding bits and pieces, and also for when I'm cleaning my airbrush. And because I use the cheap surgical spirit, I can give my airbrush a nice good wash, which you're not going to be doing if you're paying 7 or 8 quid for 100 mils of stuff. I mean, I can fill that up. Say, fill that halfway up, take apart my airbrush, put in my bits and pieces, give it a shake around, and leave it soak in there for half an hour while I go off and do something else. Come back in then and clean off all my parts. A great thing I found for cleaning the needle, believe it or not. If any of you are out there are smokers, I've been a smoker, and I make my own cigarettes. Okay, I use the tobacco and the filters, separate filter and separate cigarette papers. The filters, okay, these little filters, they're 6mm circular foam or whatever it is, filter. Pop a small drop of cleaner onto the filter. It'll soak down into it. Get your airbrush needle, stick it into one side of it, the pointy side. And because it's so sharp, it'll just slide through it. Okay, it won't damage the needle. But once you're halfway in, okay, as in you've got your point to about halfway, you point in, squeeze the filter, which tightens it around the tip, right? And then just twist your the needle, and then I just sort of push it through, cleaning it off. Give it a wipe down then with a bit of tissue paper. That cleans it. You'd be amazed how clean it gets after that. It cleans the gunk right off them. Still have to be careful with the tip, yeah, but you know, those little filters, dead handy for that. They do a great little job. Another tip, get it? I tried. Keithman, yeah, do try the surgical spirit. It does work. Like I said, that's it. I get that size bottle, okay, which is 500 mils, cost me €5, okay, as opposed to, I'm going to kind of cover up the label, okay, that size, right, 270 mils, right, that size bottle, right, £7 sterling. So it's almost twice the amount, shall we say, for half the price. Okay. Because £7 sterling is about, I think, £7.50 sterling for that building. So it works out about €8 or €9. And then you got postage and packaging and God knows what else. And I can just get a bus into town. I've got the free travel, I'm old. And £5 in boots. There we go. There's my surgical spirit. Same then with white spirit. Instead of buying the artist's white spirit, if you can get over the smell, the surgical, the cheap white spirit was just as good. Don't go for say a good brand white spirit, because it is stronger. If you go for the cheap pound shop stuff, okay, it's not as strong as, say, if you went into a builder's merchant and bought your white spirit. You're getting the good strong, you're getting the good stuff. That might be a bit too strong for modeling with the making a wash from it and things like that. But for making a wash and for models, the cheap pound shop white spirit. Okay, this stuff here now is Bird brand, 500 milliliters of it for €1.50 pound sterling. When I bought that about a year ago, there's still plenty of it there. So, and I use that with a bit of oil paint, and I make my washes down from that. I started using, I was using enamels, the old-fashioned enamel little tins, these ones here. I was using those for making my washes, and then I kind of went off them because any bit of wash that was left over in the tub that I wasn't using, if I left it there overnight and come back into it the following day, they stank to high heavens. It's just and I found then with the oil paints, they can actually kind of rejuvenate them very, very easy and very, very nicely. Now, Kevin, how are you? How's things? Simon was there a minute ago. I don't know whether he's still there or not, Si. How's your week been? Been loving the content. My week has been good. I've enjoyed this. Really enjoying this kit. Really, really am. And like I said, I did an Academy Abrams there a couple of years ago. It was the one with the War Pigs thing on it. I'm not sure whether it was an A1 or an A2, to be honest with you. I don't know. I can't remember. But I just found it a boring kit. I really did. I found it a boring kit. And when it came to the baskets, the basket didn't want to sit on properly at all. It was it started to sag away at the back. And you turn the turret, it was kind of getting stuck. And this thing is just absolutely beautiful. It really, really is. I mean, that basket, the fitting in that basket was absolutely fabulous. That actually clicked in and stayed like that without even gluing. Okay, it really did. I only glued it in just because you do, basically, but I didn't have to. It kind of clicks in here at the top, and the holes at the back of the turret, and there's little receptors and sticky outy bits, and just kind of click, and it was solid. I was just saying to myself, that was beautiful. That really, really was. Looking forward now. There's very, very little left for me to do on it. I thought there was going to be loads in it because there's 4 manuals. Okay, 4 separate manuals for building it. I'm at that stage now, and I'm on to manual 3. Literally at the start of manual 3. And the first part of manual 3 basically was fitting that. Okay, it was fitting that. Then we're up just adding in a couple of bits into that. Okay, and then it basically splits into whichever version you're doing, whether you're doing the V2 Tusk 2 or just the V2. It's just whether you're putting on the scalloped shells or not, and the ones with the scallop shells and all that, you do it from this side. There's 2 pages there and there. The next 2 pages are if you're doing the V2 model, and then you just basically fit in the turret, and that's it. So it's just small few bits and pieces to do. I actually thought there'd have been quite loads, because there's quite a lot of plastic left. And then manual 4 then is really just a sprue map and decal options. Okay, and that's it. So I'm pretty near the end of that build wise, and that's why I'm kind of making a hurry on the tracks, because I'm a bit behind on the tracks. I'm a bit behind. Like I said, there last night, I finished off the last little bits and the photo etched on the just tidied it all up. It just needed a bit of cleaning off and a bit of sanding here and there, and made it all nice and pretty. Finished that off last night. It didn't take me that long. And then I sat down. I said I'd do some tracks. I did about 6 links, and then ended up just sitting down there watching YouTube. Watched YouTube clips. Yep. Night Shift has a new video out. He's starting to make a Yag Tiger. He's doing the Tacom one. And from what I've gathered, he's not very happy with it at the moment. But he's not very happy with the kit, shall we say. He said the Tamiya one seems much better. No, he does an awful lot of extra great stuff to it. Craig, how are you? He does a lot of extra bits and pieces to it. His own weld seams, flame cut marks, retexturing, frual tracks, arbor barrels, photo etch, all that kind of stuff. No, I don't go down that line, but I do admire people that do, and I love watching Mr. Nightshot. I love his voice. I think he's brilliant, and I love his work. I think he's an absolutely fabulous modeler. Really up there, top class. And I like the way he does his videos, because he shows exactly what to do and how he does it. I've got a few tips off him, especially the damage, doing a bit of damage to 2 vehicles. I learned a nice bit off him. The chats are very helpful. Different products can be used cheap and then just... Yeah, most definitely. Remember, like most of those products out there, and that they're charging you a fortune for, you're not paying for the product. You know that. You're paying for the name. You know, and the big main name in that basically is modeling. Do you know what I mean? Modeling wash. All it is some form of white spirit, be it artist brand or whatever it is. Usually would use the same as what an oil paint has, and they'd have maybe another chemical in there just to kind of keep it, that you don't have to kind of keep stirring it, you know what I mean, to help it kind of flow and all that kind of stuff. I know that if you're making an acrylic wash with water and things like that, and say a bit of acrylic paints, just one little bubble of washing up liquid helps to kind of make the pigments basically mix properly, mix better. It's the same with oil paints, probably. I don't know. I just mix straight oil paint and white spirit, and it works perfect for me. I have tried to keep it in old Tamiya bottle, but it didn't kind of shall we say, it didn't overnight well. Okay, well it was okay for the first, I'd say, for about 3 days, and after that then, because I did a bit just to kind of test, and I each time I took it out, gave it a shake, and And after about 3 days, it just no longer seemed to sustain, shall we say. Maybe that could be the thing, part of the cheap white spirit that I used, or whatever. I don't know. But for about 3 days, it worked perfectly, and after that, then it didn't age well. Okay, but that's why I'm thinking maybe that there's something else they add in, sort of a preservative, a food preservative. So when you drink it, it keeps you perfect. I didn't think white spirits thinned oil paints. I tried it once and it didn't really work. Yeah, they will actually. Yeah, check. White spirits and oil paints, they will mix. I'll just show you. Okay, I'll use this here. Excuse me. The camera. I'll show you how to make just down a little bit of wash. As soon as I have all the ingredients here beside me. Okay, so make down a wash with black. Okay, and you see how much I'm using, tiny little bit of black thing there. Right. Get a hairy stick. Ordinary white spirits, like I said, the cheaper the better, because the expensive stuff, it's basically stronger. Okay, whereas this cheaper version stuff is just as good. Okay, all right, a bit of white spirit. Mixing it through and breaking it down. Doo-doo-doo. There you go. Nice wash. Okay. I'll just get this here, Tiger. Is that one of those tune tanks? I use it sometimes, if you can see. I use it sometimes for testing washes, see how they turn out. Okay. So that will work perfect. Okay, so that's how easy it is to make washes, and how cheap it is as well. Like I said, I mean, what have I used there? Barest little dribble of it, and that wash now will do me for, like I said, for a couple of days. But I don't need it for a couple of days, so a little bit of a weight going to waste, but it was worth it to show people, you know, how I make down quick little wash. It doesn't take that long to make it down at all. And if you want it stronger or lighter, you know yourself, you can play around with it and make it either stronger or weaker, whichever the case may be. And that's up to yourself. So there we go. Playing around with cameras again. Now, what is your oldest kit? To be honest with you, I don't know. Oh, I did. I made it there some time ago. It was think it was, the mini Famo. I think it's the SDKF said 7, or is it a 10? I did one of my subscribers in America sent it over to me. It was a Lindbergh kit, and it was 60 something, 1960 something was on the date, but that was the earliest I had. I think it was an SDKF set 7. I can't remember now. I no longer have it, actually. It's back in my old residence, and got kind of whooshed up and cleaned out with the rest of them. But that would have been it. It was a 1960s kit for definite. It wasn't a bad kit. It was an old Lindbergh one, and it was actually quite nice. Does Jack? Oh, I see what I've done wrong now. I didn't stir it. We just stuck some oil paint down, and then poured a bit of white spirits on. Yeah, you have to mix it. You will have to mix it up, and keep it moving. You mean if you leave that sit for a while? We'll even show you here. Leave that sit for a while, and once you pour that down, see it? Though it will start kind of clumping again. So before you use it each time, just give it a stir. They're just little collections of pigments. Yeah, keep it moving, keep it stirring. And there she is. Yeah, there she is, all nice and clean again, ready to go again. I know you couldn't see what I was doing, but basically that's what I was doing, playing around with it again. So it does work. It does work, Jake. And you save a fortune because you can use your oil paints for loads of other different things. And that tube cost me £5. I love these things that cost £5, but that tube cost me £5. And you can imagine how many bottles, if you wanted to say make down a bit, find out what the preservative is, and add it in there. You can imagine how many bottles of stuff you want to make. But even you can make it down little batches. Use it as you need it. It saves big range of washes and oil brushers and all that kind of stuff. Make your own. Save you a small fortune. More money than to spend on kits. And our flowers for the missus, just in case she's listening. Okay. Kevin Egan, you have beer time, is it? Exactly. Save the money for beer, or does that mean you're having a beer? Knowing you're probably having a beer. Did you ever kill that dog, Kev? Because we used to have a hangouts, and Kevin, every now and then you'd hear F's and blinds out of Kevin, he roaring at his dog. Oh, you're having a beer. That's good. You're still screaming at the dog. Where did you get your oil paints? Shop or online? I actually buy them in a local shop, the artist supply shop, because they're just as cheap to buy them in your local artist supplies. Unless you're going out and buying a load of them in one go and you can get them cheaper online, then do that. But thing about oil paints, I found is I did buy some cheap ones at some stage. Stay away from them. Stay away from the cheap rubbishy stuff, the pound shop stuff. Yeah, no, get away from that. I'm all for pound shops for lots of other bits and pieces, but for the oil paint, no. That's about the cheapest of the good stuff. Okay, Winsor and Newton. I don't know if this is the Galleria series or what. It's just the Winton series. It's Winsor and Newton Winton oil, and that size. They're about a £5 over here, and if they're a £5 over here, they're much cheaper everywhere else, because Ireland, we're screwed no matter what we buy. Taxed to freaking bejesus. Kevin will tell you that. It's cheaper to buy stuff from China and pay the postage and packaging and everything else than it is to buy something here. Yeah, Arthur there, perfect excuse. Like, using oil paints you bought over 25 years ago. And I bet you, Arthur, they were probably that size tubes. Okay, because here's one that I have now, and I've used it dead as well, but I started off using it really, really wrong. I bought that about 4 years ago. And when I started making dioramas and things, I used to use that as my main earth color roller. And I used a load of it one night, squished it into a pile of sand because the sand wasn't dark enough. I was trying to make kind of mud. Use a load of it. For a finish, I couldn't use the thing, so I just wasted it. But again, it was one of those experiments that I tried, and it didn't work out. If it worked out, it would have still been pretty expensive for a finish, and I suppose I was glad it didn't work for a finish. But I still have plenty in that to make down a fair few washes, dark brown washes. For the Abrams, I'll be using this one, which is what? Yellow ochre. I'll be making down a nice yellow ochre wash, an oil wash perfectly. For the tracks, it gives a nice dusty look, and it'll kind of give a nice dusty look for the thing as well. And what I'll do then is I'll thin it out a little bit more. Actually, I'll start off with a thinner, really thin, and use it as a filter on some of the panels, just to kind of get a bit of tonal variation between panels, even with the pre-shading. We'll get to that when I'm getting to it. I just have a load of little ideas that I want to try out in my head when it comes to this. Because everybody, if you, I've watched a good couple of videos, and if you watch people's videos, everybody will come up with totally different ways of their weathering. And over the time, you develop your own. And I'm still kind of in the learning stage, where I just want to get a bit more sort of tonal depth between colours without going down the line of buying 5 different shades of sand paint, if you know what I mean. So can I do it in washes and filters? And going to the filter side of it is something that I've only kind of recently just started doing. Well, now when I say started researching, okay, looking into what they actually do, what will they do. Yeah, the tubes are not recognisable, twisted and smashed. Winsor Newton, I believe, among others, yeah. But like, Arthur, you will agree with me that it is definitely the non-cheap oil paints. Some bit of branding on them. Winsor Newton are the only real ones that I know of, because I'm not into arty stuff. But I did notice that there was Rowney is another one. But even the Wilder ones, Wilders have, get his oil paints, because he's got a nice selection there, and he would have a nice selection of colours that would you use for modelling. And I've looked at the prices of them; they're not actually that expensive either. They're actually quite nice, only for the fact that I can buy them local, and my daughter-in-law works in the artist supply shop, so I'll say no more. I keep with pigments and oils, yeah. And I used to use, when I say pigments, I used to make my own pigments using chalk pastels, and I kind of overused them for a while, if you know what I mean. I use them on everything, and now I haven't done it for ages. I've kind of tried to stop doing it, because every time you touch a kit that you use them with, you're lifting it and you're taking it away. You're leaving. You're leaving kind of stains and things on it. It doesn't really. And when it comes to, say, when you put it on a shelf and it gets a layer of dust, and you go to take that layer of dust off, you're cleaning off all your pigments as well. So I wanted to get the same effect without actually using the pigments. So I started trying around a couple of different bits and pieces. That's what I think that Andy's hobby headquarters one of the XF57 buff coming back a bit and giving it a dust there. Things like that, they work. They do work. Weathering is something that I think you'll always be learning something new. You'll always be learning some form of new hints and tips, and I'll always on the lookout for some. And I'm always willing to give. If I like the look of it, and I like to myself, yeah, I could try that. And I'm always willing to give it a go. Always willing to give it a go. Have you tried color pencils for chips and scratches? What kind of color pencils now are you talking about? Markers, what we call markers here. You see, but literally, what do you actually mean by color pencils? Over here, coloring pencils are basically what kids use for art. They're kind of like you say, similar to a graphite pencil, except it's pigmenty type stuff. Other people then might refer to pastel and sticks. Yeah. That's color pencils. I've never actually used them for chipping. Don't know how you would actually. Must check it out. If there's a way of doing things, I like to try out new stuff. Like I like doing my chipping with a very, very thin brush. I can put in, I've learned to sort of draw in little scratches and things like that, and a couple of little dots, and then onto down along the side of a panel to show kind of spots where paint would have, a bit of rust gets in behind the paint and things like that. I tried the sponge technique, lots of different types of sponges, this, that, and the other. Not for me. I don't really like it myself. Just never really worked proper for me. Anytime I've ever look at kits that I've done with the sponge technique for the for chipping, I look back at them and it just doesn't really look right. The nicest chipping I've ever done would be the hairspray chipping, and if you can catch it right, and as it starts to kind of bubble underneath, stop it. Then we get a bit of tissue, pat it then straight away, try and dry it, and it kind of holds the flakes of paint, and you can see with that, that kind of almost a marbly type effect, whereas the paint starts to kind of lift and chip with little marks and things like that. I like that. I like that effect. That looks kind of good. Lead pencils for metal effect. Yeah, I do them. I use graphite pencils. Okay. I got one there. I got them in. It's I suppose you kind of call it an artist sort of supply stuff. They do have an artist supply section. And I got a little box, and there was 3 of them in the box. This is the HB, and there was a B and a 2B, okay, as well. And they're just a pure graphite pencil. There's no wood, shall we say? Poor thing, it's become quite limp. There's no wood. It's just pure. It's just graphite the whole way. Graphite pencils, brilliant for sort of rubbing along the side. Yeah, I use them for weathering. All right, if that's what you meant by pencils for weathering, definitely use them. You might notice I'm kind of starting to grow a beard. Like, try and grow a beard for the winter. Keep my face warm. Acrylic color pencils, the ones the kids use in school. Yeah, I've never used them for watercolor pencils for dust and dirt, etc. No, never use them now. Would you actually just sort of draw on the kit? How would you use them? Is there a sort of technique to them? Do you just basically just scribble on the tank? Sort of like something similar to what you do with the graphite pencil, to sort of rub along edges and things like that. But will it stay? That kind of thing. Fix them with Humbrol decal fix. All right. Fix them then with. Getcha. Yeah. Sorry, mind was off there, wondering what. Well, I was kind of following two different things. You're talking about fixing the pigments with Humbrol decal fix. But is that basically the same as a pigment fixer type stuff? It's just that I got one bottle of pigment fixer. It kind of did the job, but stuff just dried in, and it, shall we say, fixed maybe 50% of them, and the ones then it just. I didn't like the effect for a finish. No, I could have been using it wrong, but yeah, I find if you've got to handle a piece or clean it, that's where I had my problems with dusting them off afterwards. So that's why I decided not to go down that line with the with pigments. I would have to find something to use for muck and dirt. But then again, I have in the past used actual muck, and the base I did when I did the Sherman there, Fury. When I originally did that, I did it on a little round base, and I got some earth from the outside, and it went mouldy and stank the place out and destroyed a few other bits and pieces. So you literally have to kind of kill the earth, anything that's alive in the earth first, if you want to use earth, as in real earth. Just be wary of that. And it had gone completely dry. It was down to a powder. And it was when I added water in and whatever else it was, we could see kind of a mold. Coffee grounds for mud. Yes. That kind of has its own sort of stickiness, and it goes hard as well, doesn't it? When you kind of wet it. Never thought of that. Plus, it might smell nice as well. And if you ever sort of could kind of pick up the tank and give yourself a quick coffee buzz. Have you any battle damaged panzers? How many? Have you any battle damaged panzers you have built? All right, have any here that I've built? Battle damaged. This is the only one I can actually think of to hand. King Tiger. Okay. Missing fenders, chips out of the fender on the front of it. Okay. We've got some shell impacts there on the front. Let's show up. There we go. You see the shell impacts there in the front. I have some up there on the gun mantlet as well. Loads of scratches and that kind of thing on it. Like if you think of it, like to be honest with you, any more battle damage than that, and the thing would actually be useless. You don't want them. Battle damage is something that you kind of got. Unless you're doing an actual destroyed vehicle, you've got to kind of consider like that. It really has to be kind of superficial, because if a round actually penetrated, it's either going to kill the crew or blow up your engine or do some major bit of damage. It's only kind of deflections, bits like fenders missing, that kind of thing. Fenders ripped to shreds because it's a lighter metal. It's not really. The fenders weren't. They wouldn't have been sort of big, thick steel armor. They're not really built for armor, really. They're more of a kind of push bushes and things out of the way, really. Because apart from that, they're not really, like back then anyway, they really did nothing. Okay, there was most of the vehicles, like even for finish, they stopped really putting them on the Tiger, and the ones that were on the Tiger were, you wouldn't really call them fenders in the first place. They were little kind of like a mini skirt around it, making them look all kind of pretty. Okay. Did you create the chipping effect? How did you create the chipping effect on damaged panzers? Usually just painted on. Okay. Usually just painted on. I have one scrape, well, a couple of scrapes on this that I'm actually kind of, especially the one across the number there, that I'm really kind of, shall we say, proud of, if you know what I mean. I know it sounds silly, but it's true. And there's a couple more there. What I actually did was I gouged that line out of it. Okay. So therefore then when I painted inside in the line, okay, then I painted inside that gouge with a lightened version of the base color, which was, say, the sand yellow. And then inside that, then a little line of my kind of undercoat, rusty black undercoat, and that kind of gave it the proper that look. And you got to take your time, and you can't have every scratch the exact same. Okay, if you even look at sort of old pictures of scratched up things, it's not exactly the same type of scratch everywhere. It would look a bit strange, wouldn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's like as if you kind of got a photograph of a scratch and photoshopped it everywhere. But just random. With thin brush, 04 is my usual. Okay. I also have this one here, which I might use. It's a Meng brush. It's really, really, really thin one. Light paint, and go along the edges, along any sharp edges. Go along the edge with your paint, nice and thin. Every now and then, kind of go up onto or down onto the edge. Go off right off the edge itself, where it takes, in other words, where the paint will be chipped, not only off the rolling edge, but it took a bit into the actual sides and panels as well, along with it. And then close to that, then make sure you have a couple of extra scratches, because that would it wouldn't just sort of fall off in one section and everything else around it nice and clean, if you know what I mean. You got to kind of think of what caused the paint and all for that area to lose paint in the first place. Was it a machine gun burst that all it did basically was barely dent the metal, barely even mark metal, but chip the paint off it? Say during the Second World War, say somebody could have sprayed the side of a Tiger tank from 100 yards away, and he was using a Tommy gun, Thompson submachine gun. It probably barely even took the paint off it, if you know what I mean. But closer up, it'll do more little damage, might even take a little gouge out of it. So you got to be kind of thinking along those lines, and wear and tear, going through. Think of where it is, where the vehicle was, as in in real life. If it was up in Russia, going through forests and shitty land and all that kind of thing. It's been up and down, it's been over everything. So anything that's loose, that might come loose, can eventually kind of rattle away and fall off. Going through forests, things that anything that's protruding, good chance it could break off. Fenders, the slight fender just gets a slight ding, then it's hitting something else, and after a while then it's half ripped off. Gets a shot from a small anti-tank weapon, ripped off again. So that's kind of the best type of battle damage to do, unless you're actually doing a totally destroyed one, or a range piece. In other words, that's a vehicle that's the engine is gone in it. They take the engine out and they shove the whole hulk out from the range, and they let fire with everything at it. Rose Bubbles. Hello, Rose. How are you? Rose Bubbles, that's a nice one. No problem, lads. It's 10 o'clock. I've been on for an hour now. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to stay tuned to the channel for updates on the Abrams. Like I said, stay tuned as well. I will make a final decision on the group build, on how we're going to decide it, as in I'll do up a video, give up the 3 or 4 choices of vehicle chassis that the group build will be based on, and go then by the votes, and the majority wins. Okay, so it's we'll have an election. We'll have our own little election. Might even have it on election day. But anyway, lads, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you all again. Bye bye, lads, and have a nice weekend.